Andrew Ambrose Akama of Patos.
Thank you, Jill. Contribution to the UN Special Rapporteur. I speak on behalf of the indigenous peoples of Malaysia, especially in Sabah. As you all are aware, and this is the reason why we are all here instead of being in Sabah, is that the state of Sabah has been intruded by about 200 armed gunmen, which our government, in a circular issued to the media, has branded as terrorists. Whatever the reasons for the intrusion, we the people of Sabah, especially the indigenous peoples, have been feeling insecure and helpless. Lives have been lost as a result, but we have lost our life too, in that effect, and so too our rights to be safe. Since the incident started weeks ago, the presence of the security forces has been greatly felt, thanks to the mainstream media that shows images of them on ground zero in the papers or television on a daily basis. But there is a face that the media seems to forget. That is the face of fear, anxiety, and hopelessness towards the future among the indigenous communities, most of whom inhabit areas which can be considered exposed and vulnerable to any form of external threats. They seem to forget that while the forces are battling it on the front line and politicians taking advantage of the vulnerable situation to undermine each other in view of the upcoming general elections, the common citizens too are suffering. It's difficult to live a life in fear, and our fear is justified. A father of one of our fellow members from our support organization was threatened by a gunman believed to be one of the intruders who came to his village in an attempt to take the villagers as hostage. Not only that our right to be safe and secure has been deprived by the situation, our freedom of movements too have been restricted. The main restriction comes from our fear that the situation could get worse, meaning other parts of the state could also come under attack. Police and military roadblocks have been put up as part of security measures. This too has restricted our people's movement to perform their daily routines and earn their livelihoods from farming and fishing and other small socio-economic activities. Many indigenous peoples are living below the poverty line, and their livelihoods relies heavily on these activities. But now there are roadblocks that already exist in many of us, for we can never be too sure how our future and the future of our children will be like. No one can ever tell that there will be no more intrusions in such nature in the future. We can only hope for the best. But the danger that we are facing also comes in other forms, one of which is misinformation and failure of any parties to have an accurate picture of what is truly happening. It is normal for anyone to sympathize with victims of the situation, which, as the media likes to portray, the families of servicemen and police personnel who have lost their husbands and fathers. But over-sympathizing over one party in this issue can make the situation a lot worse. The fact, as I've mentioned, that there are many others who are victims too, including the minority communities. Still, in specific cases involving the loss of lives, careful assessment of what truly happened may be applied by any parties. Making assumptions can only worsen the situation, as it could be interpreted in different manner. This also includes United Nations agencies, as the situation in Sabah has become internationally known. United Nations has concern over humanitarian matters, but we, as indigenous peoples, plea that we too are affected heavily by the situation. We would like to recommend to the Special Rapporteur to bring our voices both to the United Nations and to the government of Malaysia that our recommendations, number one, that United Nations make a fact-finding mission first. that must include local representatives, non-governmental organizations, and especially indigenous peoples. 2, we want our government to guarantee our safety and security because any form of intrusion to our nation and state sovereignty is a violation to our rights. And finally, number 3, we also want our government to address the issue of documentation given to non-citizens because this matter involves our security, and when threatened, we will see the presence of the military again. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, we are all affected by the militarization happening in Sabah, and I think we cannot avoid talking about it. Not only are we affected